This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover markings and how they use markings to communicate with each other so that people out there know you can spot these things. You know who these people are. You know who our enemies are. You can identify who are witches and Satanists and people involved in the occult. And they do this now through tattoos, through tattooing. And one of the more specific tattoos that you'll see, obviously you're going to see the pyramid on people. Athletes like Kyrie Irving, that pyramid, you'll see the all-seeing eye. Another symbol that's pretty common is the owl. But the most common symbol you'll see is the pentagram, which people look at and they say, oh, it's just a star. No, it's the five-pointed pentagram. And the reason that so many of these celebrities have the pentagram on them isn't because they just love stars and they love the Dallas Cowboys and they love, other teams that are related to it, because so many sports teams, the Astros, the Dallas Stars, have the star. It isn't because they're from Texas, okay? It isn't because they were super great in elementary school and they got a star on their report card or a star on their test, okay? It's how they identify with each other. This has been going on for a long time. You'll notice when you drive, and this doesn't mean now that every single house that has this on their house is telling you they're a witch. But what they used to do is they would put stars on their barns. They would put stars on the top of their homes. Even churches would put stars on it. This was a way for them to communicate with other witches, whether they were passing through the town or they were new to the town or they were just people who lived in that town, so that they knew through these codes that the person in that house was a fellow witch, that this church that has the pentagram on it is a church where they could go to perform these rituals and get involved in an occult, because a lot of these things do happen underneath the church or inside of a church during hours where the church isn't operating and performing a mass or a sermon. And that's been going on a long time. Now, they use tattoos now as a way to communicate with each other. And what we've seen, obviously, is that everybody, for the most part. Now, and this doesn't include me. I've never had a tattoo. I've never been interested. I'm not going to say anything about people who have them. I'm not saying you're going to hell if you have them. But you have to understand that they made the tattoo mainstream for multiple reasons. One of which, to make it less obvious that these people are marking themselves to communicate with each other, because obviously people are on the move now. These celebrities want to be able to communicate with each other and let them know that they're a part of the same brotherhood. But the other reason, of course, which I've discussed many times, is that it's a bloodletting ritual. That's what getting tattoos is. And unfortunately, people haven't realized that and still refuse to realize that because of pride and things like that. Now, in Leviticus 17:11, it says, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul." Now, this is the reason that the Satanists believe that blood provides so much power, because the life lives in the blood. Blood is the life. So it plays a central part in all of their ritualistic sacrifices. Now, in Leviticus chapter 21, verse 5, and in Deuteronomy 14:1, chapter 14, verse 1, God condemns these types of practices, which are bloodletting. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. This is because, if you remember in Scripture, in Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 9, it goes on to say, "And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones." Because through these types of rituals, they would become demonically possessed through the bloodletting rituals. Now, back to how they mark themselves and why. Obviously, they've convinced society to get tattoos, to mark their own bodies for this reason. It doesn't mean if you have a tattoo that you've gotten one in the past. It does not mean you're a Satanist. It does not mean you're demonically possessed. Okay? It just means that what I'm saying is the actual getting of the tattoo. That's what you're partaking in. And obviously, they've tricked so many people into doing that. But what people don't realize is they've also done this as a distraction. So people see tattoos, they don't think anything of it, really, right? Some guy might have a sleeve on his arm of tattoos, and you wouldn't even be able to recognize what it is, right? Sometimes a guy might, or a girl might be like, hey, check it out, and try to show it off. It's usually something very similar. So we don't even take that stuff in, right? We're kind of passive about it. Oh, he's got tattoos, big deal. Oh, he's got a tattoo of his favorite sports team, big deal, right? But to them, because everybody's been trained, to for the most part to get tattoos, right? And been told it's cool to get tattoos. Everybody should have a tattoo. Hey, do you have a tattoo? They beat this into people's head through the television, right? Through the celebrities all having it. If you look closely at these celebrities, you should ask questions and you say, why do they have this? And the star is the most common tattoo that you'll see amongst these celebrities. They'll get tiny stars behind their ears. They'll get a trail of stars on their neck. There's a lot of athletes who have a star on their elbow, a star on their arm. But the common person wouldn't say, well, why does he have a star? Well, think about it. All these people are artistic and, you're supposed to get tattoos and you're supposed to get one that means something to you. Like, there's people out there who have tattoos of maybe their father's name, their mother's name, or somebody they care about. Some people have tattoos of the cross. Some people have tattoos of Jesus. Some people have tattoos of a date that might be symbolic to them. Or somebody might have a sports team because they're obsessed with their sports team. I'm not saying any of that's good or bad, but think of it from that perspective, right? The individual goes and gets a tattoo because it has significant meaning to them. You're not going to mark your body for absolutely no reason unless you think that you're doing something or honoring something, which is what they've beaten in everyone's head. Now look at all these celebrities like Rihanna, right? Eva Longoria, all of them who have these stars, these small star tattoos, whether they're on their wrists, behind their ears, on their neck, or prominently placed on their arms. This is a way for them to communicate. They also believe that through having these markings, these engravings on their body, that they're gaining spiritual power that way, right? That's what they believe. So they're not just using it as a means of communicating with each other. They're also doing it because they believe by having these markings permanently on their flesh, that they're protected, that they're going to gain wisdom, that they're going to gain money, that they're going to gain power. And that's why you see this so often. And I can't even name half these celebrities. I go through this list of people who have star tattoos, and it's funny because they'll have, some really ridiculous tattoo on them, like flames and all this stuff, and, things that look like demons, I guess. And then they'll just have this little star tattoo on their wrist. And this will be men and women because the men aren't hiding it either. I mean, you can see here the wrestlers that have the star tattoo. It's all for a reason. This is how the occult operates. You could see Tom Brady's wife, Giselle, I don't know how to say her last name, Bundchen or something like that, who has the tattoo. Like I said, Rihanna has a trail of it on her. You'll see the star tattoo on people such as Lindsay Lohan on her wrist. Okay, you'll see it on even this old actress, Helen. I think her name's Helen Mirren, something like that. You see it on her hand. Okay, that's because these people all are practitioners in the occult. Whether they're witches or Satanists, they're all practitioners in black magic. That's what all these people do, whether they're using the Kabbalah to do that magic, whether they're going directly to Crowley's teachings. But they're all marked. They're all showing you it. Nicole Richie's got it on her. And they're not doing it because they're just going, hey, I want to get a tattoo. You know what I love? I love stars. I love the gold star. I love just love little mini stars. I want to get them all over my body. We all have it. Coincidentally, we all have the same tattoo because there's nothing original about it, right? Why would they all be getting it? And then we see a lot of these celebrities like Johnny Depp getting matching tattoos, obviously, with the West Memphis 3 kid that got out. Damien Eccles, that's Satanist, right? That's for a reason. So they use their tattoos as part of their brotherhood to communicate what brotherhood they're in, to communicate and let them know that they're at least a part of it or practitioners in black magic. And that's why they're there. They're not there coincidentally. They're not there. Grown men aren't just going to the tattoo parlor and getting an owl or a pentagram on their wrist. They're doing it for this specific reason. And like I said, this has been going on a long time. Okay, back in the day before there was television and all that stuff, they would mark their property. They would mark their barns. You still see it now. That doesn't mean that if you drive by a house and you see it, that means that they're a witch, because what they've done is they've taken that and they've made it mainstream, right? You see all the shows on HGTV. They're putting the star in the barn. It doesn't necessarily mean those people are. They're making it trendy to have the star. They're making it commonplace to have it. Like we see with all these symbols, they're making it normal and commonplace. But back then, that was how they communicated with each other. The churches would be marked with pentagrams, the barns would be, the homes would be, and the mailbox, that's how they would know who was who. And they do it now using tattoos. And it's right in front of our faces. It's stuff people don't think about, but it's a way for them to communicate amongst each other, to let each other know that they're practitioners in black magic. And there's other markings on them to let them know exactly what societies or what secret societies they're a part of. So look for those things. Be aware, at least, of those things. That this is the way that the enemy is operating. This is how the enemy thinks. This is what the enemy does right in plain sight. But our minds aren't trained to process that stuff. And it should be, because we should be able to identify these people. We should be able to call them out, right? Remember, they used to get cast out. How many times have I talked about that? They get run into the woods, run up trees. The reason they don't get cast out now is because they communicate in a different way where it's harder for people to see because everybody's under mind control. But they're still flashing the same symbols that they've always used through tattoos now and other means. Yet nobody believes that it's going on, but it is. So tattooing, it's just another way for them to communicate with each other and let each other know that they're practitioners in black magic. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.